in the trucking business, I talk about logs. There are certain federal laws that restrict how long a truck driver can drive and how long they can work. Right, and it's varied a little bit over the years. Right at the present time, a driver can only drive 11 hours before he has to rest for 10. And he can't drive straight for 11 hours. He has to drive and rest somewhere for 30 minutes in between before 8 hours is up. So if he drives 6 hours, then he can take a 30-minute break and then drive the other 5, something like that. Or you can, if you wait right till 8 hours every time when they check your logbooks, they tell you what's going on here. And most trucks now don't have written logs. Only older trucks that don't have computers in the motor have written logs. Now they have onboard logs that are hooked to the truck engine, and anytime the truck is moving, the log says you're driving. And they're very, very strict about that. Also, you have to have 7 days worth of logs in a logbook. You have to have 7 days prior days to the current day. In other words, if the day is the 8th, then I have to have 1 through 7 pages of the logbook. What I was doing those other days, because in 7 days, you can only drive a certain number of hours, like 21 hours or 20 or 22. I don't know, there's on every logbook page it says how many you can drive. So the way I was taught was when I fill out my logbook, the first couple of pages, I would put, if I most of the time I drove occasionally, so I was a hobby driver, and I wasn't working at driving. I'd be doing some other stuff, and anytime I was driving, I had to put that in the logbook of if I was going on a trip, and so I would mark down dates 1 through 7 off duty, no driving, and I'd have that the first page in the logbook. Then the next page was the current day, and we went back to Michigan one time to pick up a truck. I was with another guy, and he was driving because it was snowy and stuff, and we both filled out our logbooks, and I said, "Aren't you going to put the page in the front that says 7 days?" He says, "No, we don't have to do that." So I'll be darned if we didn't get stopped after about 6 or 8 hours. They called us into a port of entry, and he came in and he says, "I want to inspect your driver's license, your logbooks, your registration of your truck, your insurance, the federal inspection of the truck." There's all kinds of stuff they inspect, paperwork. And the only thing that he didn't do was he didn't actually inspect our truck and trailer that we had. So he went in there, and you have to, whenever you stop, you have to write down the name of the town where you stop. And in the report, it had the name of the town right up there. And so he says, "Get your logbooks out. And the name of this town is such and such." And we didn't get it that we were supposed to write that down because we just got to that point and we put a line, and we usually write that when you leave. Well, he wanted us to write it when we were there, so we finally figured that out. And he talked to the guy that was driving, and he said, "Oh, well, you're starting on day 1 here. What about 7 previous days? You have another logbook?" He said, "No, I haven't been driving or anything. We just came out to get this truck." He says, "Oh, if you don't have it, you have to take 10 hours off. You're down for 10 hours. And I said, "What about me?" He said, "Do you have a CDL?" I said, "Yeah, I took my license out." "What's your logbook?" "Here's my logbook." I had 7 hours. And then I had about in the middle, he says, "Oh, well, yeah, okay. He has to get in the sleeper. You can drive." So I drove, and that's something that I was taught, and I tried to remember to do. So one day we bought a big heavy-duty rotator wrecker with 4 axles, and they built it in Houston for us. So the salesman that sold me the bed said, "Hey, I haven't been in a truck in a long time. Can I ride back from Houston with you?" I said, "Yeah, it's a couple day ride." He said, "Okay." So we flew to Houston, and the company that was building, the equipment company that we supplied a truck, and then he supplied the wrecker body. He went up to the airport and got us, and we went and looked at the wrecker and made him change some things, did some stuff. And I got in, and I put the 7 days, no driving, and we took off. And they stopped at a port, 4 or 5 hours down the road. And he said, "I want to see your logbook. I want to see this. I want to see that." And he says, and we had paper signs on the truck. You have to have a DOT number. You have to have all this stuff. Even if it's just written magic marker on a piece of paper, it has to be legible from a certain distance. And we had that all done. And we had a temporary license on the truck. And he says, "What's going on here? What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just taking this. We bought this record, and I'm taking it back to Nevada. I want to see your logbook." So I showed him. He says, "How'd you get to Houston?" So we flew. He said, "You didn't mark that down here in your logbook." I said, "What?" "I was flying the plane." He said, "That's on duty, not driving. You have to wait 10. I said, I've slept on the plane. I slept before I went. Now I have to pull over and I have to stop for 10 hours. Yep, you can't go anywhere for 10 hours. "Well, I'll let you go 2 miles down the road. There's a motel there, and you have to stop." So we went stop, checked to that motel. I could not go to sleep. I wasn't tired at all. I was all keyed up from it. But since I didn't put on duty, not driving, that's how strict they are. There are people in Congress that say, "Oh, nobody regulates truck drivers. Nobody does this, nobody does that." That's not true. They're very highly regulated, and most of the ones that I know of comply, especially since they have the computerized logbook in the truck, the automatic logbooks. They don't mess around. I had one of those, and you get to where you're close to the time, and it says you have 30 minutes of driving left. You have 20 minutes of driving left. And I'm looking around for a place to park or something, and I went past a couple of times, like 5 minutes past. In the old days, in the logs, if you were within 15 minutes, that was good enough. These things, 1 minute past, you're in violation. And we got audited. Our log machines got audited, and the owner of the company, the guy's truck I was driving, got dinged a little bit because I was a couple minutes over. And I was trying to find a place in Northern California. There's no place to park a big truck. And well, you should have planned that. Well, I planned to be down the road further, and there was a place half an hour away, but my time ran out too soon. So the trucks are very highly regulated.